Hello everybody and welcome to a video about Dwarf Fortress. This video is directed specifically at new players who maybe haven't experienced the game before or have experienced it at minimal levels. Perhaps you've only watched videos of popular YouTubers like Smash, or perhaps you've only been reading about the game. Maybe you just discovered it and you have no idea what this game is. This video is aimed to kind of give you an idea of what to expect from Dwarf Fortress, specifically the upcoming premium versions on Steam and itch.io, as well as a little bit of historical context. So Dwarf Fortress, which was originally called Slaves to Armok, God of Blood, Chapter 2, Dwarf Fortress, is actually a sequel to Slaves to Armok, God of Blood, which was Zach and Tarn Adams of Bay 12 Games' long-developed magnum opus, shall we say. Slaves to Armok was a fully 3D, open-world, randomly generated, seemingly infinite in its scope game developed for free and available for free on their website. The game hit massive scope creep and was kind of a buggy mess at best, and maybe just even couldn't be considered a game. Perhaps I would describe it more as a weird game engine with some mechanics that could be played around with theoretically. As for gamifying it, though, the brothers ran into issues and eventually tabled the project to work on Dwarf Fortress, or Slaves to Armok, God of Blood, Chapter 2, Dwarf Fortress, as a temporary spin-off project, which was designed as kind of a construction management game, eventually. But the initial concept for it was a, obviously free, kind of arcade game, where you would take a dwarf or character and go and explore a destroyed dwarven fortress, with the goal of trying to obtain as many items as possible from this fortress. The original alpha version for this version of Dwarf Fortress was originally began development in 2002 and released publicly in 2006. It received a lot of attention, and the brothers survived solely off of donations. The primary game mode was set in a procedurally generated fantasy world in which the player indirectly controls a group of dwarves and attempts to construct a successful, wealthy fortress. Critics praised its complex and emergent gameplay, but it had mixed reactions to its difficulty due to its incredibly obtuse graphics and interface. The game went on to influence the existence of games like Minecraft, and also allowed for games like RimWorld to exist, and eventually inspiring an entire genre of games with titles such as No Moria and Odd Realm, Oxygen not included, and extending to games like Terraria as well. The game is also one of the most notoriously difficult games in history, as I said previously, due to its obtuse nature and UI, thus kind of attracting a strange community of masochists, as well as very dedicated players that simply enjoyed the obtuseness and weirdness and maybe even nerdy value of being able to play the game. Of course, the kind of simplistic nature of the game's visual style and UI meant that the game would run on almost any computer. Granted, it wouldn't run well on any computer for quite some time.
The two brothers responsible for Dwarf Fortress, Tarn and Zach, what brings you guys all the way out to Iceland for FanFest?
So Eve got into the MoMA, right, the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and we're one of their MoMA buddies. We were
Congratulations, by the way.
Awesome. Yeah, completely unexpected. And so they had a panel here discussing video games and art and so on. They had the curator of the museum come out here. They had Adam Saltzman from Cannibalt came out here. And we just sat and chatted with a local Icelandic television personality, Goder. And yes, he was really into the art stuff, and the curator was into the art stuff. It was way over my head.
What does it feel like to be suddenly made an artist is the question.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be suddenly made an artist?
Yeah.
In 2011, the game was added to the Museum of Modern Art and would be shown at the Show of History of Video Gaming in 2012. The game is one of the original make-your-own fun games with no real objectives. Before playing, the game generates a world, and this generation process doesn't just give you a map with a couple locations on it, it generates hundreds of years with thousands and thousands of named characters and individuals with lives and histories and tales to be told. It also generates forms of poetry, history, and musical instruments, books, and languages, as well as many different races, including various animal creatures, were creatures, vampires, villains, and much more. These villains fans can also create their own species of weird amalgamations of randomly generated nightmare horrors that will come and rip your face off. Dwarf Fortress never fails to show up in the news over the years, as legendary Let's Plays such as Boat Murdered and massive fortresses such as Archcrystal have shown up in articles as time goes by. The game kind of has this weird cult following that doesn't play it as well. Zach and Tarn Adams are noted stating that people who play the game are beta testers, and the actual players are those who read the stories that are generated in the game. Due to the instability of the current economy and the rising healthcare costs in the US, Zach and Tarn partnered with Kit Fox Game, founded by Tanya Short, who is good friends with Tarn Adams. They've actually published 2 books together, which I actually own both copies of. And there are many ways to read them on the internet. They're both quite interesting little books that they edited, and I recommend that you look them up if nothing else. After partnering and agreeing to publish Dwarf Fortress in 2018, the brothers then continued working on their most recent arc, which was the Villains arc. And then in 2019, the Steam version was announced. Dwarf Fortress then rocketed up to one of the top most wishlisted games on Steam and has since sat there ever since. Due to the popularity of the games that Dwarf Fortress has inspired, the game has an incredible following. Something that is worth noting is the game has always been free, and will continue to be free after the game is available for sale. The main differences being the free version will not have the fancy graphics that you see in all of the preview footage and coverage, and the only music it will include is the original guitar strumming by Tarn Adams, which for many of us has become quite nostalgic in its sounds. The premium version will be available for $30 USD or your regional equivalent, and may be available by the time you see this video. It will be releasing on December 6th, 2022. So what can you expect from Dwarf Fortress? Well, there are 3 modes of play, 2 of which will be available at launch, and the third will be added back in shortly after. The most popular form of play for Dwarf Fortress is Fortress Mode. Fortress Mode where you build a fortress filled with dwarves, and probably the majority of the screenshots of the games that you've seen. In Fortress Mode, there is no real end goal aside from building the most successful fortress possible, with the hope of having the monarch or king or queen or barons from your faction show up at your fortress. There are many threats to fend off, ranging from creatures from the depths to weird ancient godlike beings on the surface, right down to the mundane humans that just want you gone. Or perhaps elves that you may have irritated due to your own stupid mistakes, or goblins that just kind of like violence. Of course, you could also be friends with any of these factions, up to including goblins, where you can trade and speak with and share in rumors. Friendly bards and characters will come and visit your tavern, and you could set up perhaps a Stardew Valley-esque farming civilization that is pretty peaceful with minimal conflict. Dwarf Fortress is a very malleable game. It's one of the original make-your-own-fun sandboxes, right down to as simple as you want or as big and complex as you want. It's a game that can be as tricky or as simple as you really want it to be, and both playstyles are completely viable. Legends mode, which is the second mode that will be included in the premium version of Dwarf Fortress, is a printout of your entire world's history. When the world is generated at the beginning of the game, Legends mode is essentially your window into the world that you've generated. You can go through lists of characters, lists of creatures, figure out their histories, the factions that they're connected to, who they've spoken with, who their parents were, what their parents did, what they did, the items that they made and the people that they married, and the characters that they killed. It's a very expansive, deep look at your world, which can also be extended even further using player-made viewers. Legends mode is an incredibly powerful story builder that my older sister uses to generate her worlds in D&D, without even interacting with the rest of the game. Legends is something special, and I can't wait for more people to see it. The third and final mode, and the original mode for Dwarf Fortress, is Adventure Mode. Adventure Mode is a single-player open-world RPG that ties back into Fortress Mode in some interesting ways. Adventure Mode allows you to take control over one character and wander around the entire expanse of the world, doing more or less anything that you want, within reason, of course. And this can range from simply exploring towns as a bard and dancing naked on tables and writing terrible poetry, to being a legendary warrior and stabbing dragons to death and enslaving demons. Of course, Adventure Mode won't be out at launch for Dwarf Fortress due to it still needing its UI rework, but I feel that this is probably for the best, as the game is kind of a lot, and getting the opportunity to play Fortress Mode and learn Fortress Mode before also having an additional game dumped on you is probably for the best. But once Adventure Mode does release, I'm hoping that players will learn that you can take an adventurer and visit your old fortresses, leave adventurers in your fortresses, and then reclaim your fortresses to play that fortress with the adventurer in your fortress as an uncontrolled character, or alternatively make multiple fortresses and maybe go and steal artifacts from your old fortresses with your adventurers. Because the worlds are persistent and there is no real end credits, even if a fortress or adventurer dies, the opportunities and possibilities of essentially playing a wider Civilization-style 4X game within this weird simulation of a game, the possibilities are extraordinarily broad, which is why Dwarf Fortress has built up such a long-running player base. A few other notes that I would like to mention is Dwarf Fortress is the original inspiration for Minecraft, alongside of the Minecraft creator's other game, Worm Online. Of course, when you look at Minecraft and you realize that it's a cube-based game based heavily on Dwarf Fortress's world generation, you'll also suddenly start to notice the similarities between Minecraft and Dwarf Fortress Adventure Mode. A lot of the things that you can do in Minecraft are also possible in Adventure Mode, making Adventure Mode quite appealing to both a casual and hardcore audience of people that want to play it. Largely, some of the most popular games in existence right now are thanks to the existence of Dwarf Fortress. Fortnite was originally a Minecraft clone, which was supposed to be an open-world survival crafting game, later turned into a battle royale game, which also is a genre that stems from Minecraft modding and Arma mods, meaning battle royales of today owe part of their existence to the inspirations from games that were based on Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress is not only one of the most important games of the last 20 years, but also one of the most replayable and interesting. I cannot wait for everybody to get an opportunity to play the game and experience it fully. Of course, if the price tag seems a bit steep for you, I recommend also checking out Classic when it releases, as it is getting the same UI overhaul. And similar to Minecraft, there are many, many, many tile sets and graphics packs for Dwarf Fortress that make it significantly more playable. And even though the Classic version is going to be ASCII and have a much more limited tile set and audio, it will still be the same game and have the exact same power and possibilities. So it's worth trying at the very least, even if it's going to require a little bit more legwork to get a tile set installed, which I'll absolutely be making videos of on this channel. I hope that this video helped as a decent little introduction to Dwarf Fortress. I'm looking forward to playing the premium version when it releases, and I hope that you are as well. If you want to support these videos or my channel in general, you can do that via Patreon, or you can go over to my Twitch channel and watch me play Dwarf Fortress and other games live on twitch.tv/BLINDIRL. If you like my voice and would like to listen to my podcast, link to that is down in the description. And I have a number of interviews with Bay 12 Games on this channel as well, if you would like to hear me talk with Zach and Tarn. We released one just earlier this week. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.